Welcome back to the World of Warcraft Alpha Exploration, a series in which we examine the World of Warcraft version 0.5.3. For those of you that are new to the channel, version 0.5.3 is also known as the Friends and Family Alpha. It was given out to people that were either related to or knew someone working at Blizzard. Testers had to sign a non-disclosure agreement and were not allowed to talk about their participation. The veil of secrecy surrounding this somewhat forgotten version has been lifted, and nowadays we can rely on a trove of screenshots, videos, and trailers to get an idea of how the game looked back in the day. There is also a fan-made project trying to recreate version 0.5.3 as closely as possible, which is the server that I'm recording today's video on. There will be a link in the description if you're interested in checking it out. With that being said, let's go and take a look at what the privileged few got to experience all the way back in 2003 in what is probably the first time World of Warcraft was introduced to a wider audience. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed my first attempt at a proper intro. I thought I would make something that I can slap at the beginning of all of those exploration videos, so people that kind of, stumble across these video series have an idea and understanding of which version of World of Warcraft we're actually playing/exploring. And with that out of the way, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a Stormwind exploration today. Starting off at the gate, I thought that would make a lot of sense. And at first sight, there's not too much different, although obviously, if you have a keen eye, you will have spotted that Squire Rowe, the guy that is involved in summoning Marshal Windsword for the Onyxia quest chain, is not in the game yet. However, Jorgen, the guy that we meet for the Missing Diplomat quest chain, is here. He has a little bit of a different haircut, I would say. Other than that, the Valley of Heroes is pretty much as it always was. The plaques that are describing the biographies of the heroes of the Alliance are also here, as is General Marcus Jonathan, and I'm pretty sure he looks quite the same as always. Major Mattingly and the guy whose name was probably changed ever since the what scandal aren't in the game actually. And with that being said, let's enter the trade district. There is in fact a visitor center already, because in this version I think you could actually already form guilds. I hope I'm not wrong with that. And here we see something quite curious. This is one of the old human models. As you can see here, they are a little bit different. Not gonna say worse per se, but a little more old school maybe. Same for the female model here of Elaine Trias, but Elaine Trias, the cheesemaker with the SI7 connections, he looks just the same as always. Alrighty, moving on, we have the model of it's obviously a placeholder model. As you can see here, the wine merchant, or the guy that has you go to the wine shop on the Canals. He looks like a Defias miner, or I suppose the Defias miners kind of look a little bit like seafarers actually. I never noticed the anchor on their arm there. And this is also another of the old human models you can see here. I think this was reused in Old Hillspread in Burning Crusade, possibly. It was definitely reused in Wrath of the Lich King in the Death Knight starting zone, Maya, Quimby, or whatever his name is. Model like that, I'm sure of that. This woman, I'm not sure if she's in the game. She might well be. I guess I should do a side-to-side comparison at some point in the future. Maybe I'll get on that actually. I just quite enjoy these spontaneous talks about what I see, but moving forward, obviously we're going to be doing this a little bit more scriptedly, and maybe actually bring up a split screen so you guys can see the difference at first glance and don't need to log into the game by yourselves. So another difference, as you can see here, is not necessarily with the Burnside family, the banking family of the trade district, but it's with the entrance to the bank. There is a little bit of a turn to be made here. I think this building model closely resembles the one that is being used in the Worm district. With that being said, there is obviously no inn yet. This was supposed to be a shop at some point, because yeah, the inn system is not in the game yet. There are just stones of binding, which are essentially graveyards actually. So if you die, you will respawn at your binding stone. And yeah, there's another one of those /new models. And this guy also has a quest. Interesting. I do believe this quest is in the normal game. Topper Magnap, the guy that's always begging for a coin, that will be flooding your chat window while you're standing in the Stormwind auction house. He's already here. I guess he doesn't have any voice lines yet though, or well, text lines for that matter. So this is interesting, by the way. We're here in the trade district and we see a familiar face, albeit not in his natural habitat. This is Barracks Alexton, the guy that has you collect the Furbrose. No, actually no. Furbrose pocket, which is something else, but he has you collect something else from his farmstead in Westfall. And yeah, he gets a lot of hardcore players killed at the moment, actually, because it is quite a dangerous quest full of villagers around his farmstead. And yeah, those are the guys, the Defias guys that cast fireballs, obviously. So Rima Schneider, she is in the game normally as well, I think. But as you can see here, another one of the rather unusual human models. So that's quite interesting, I would say. Let's just go kind of like clockwise through this, I would say. Let's check out the winery real quick. And then we'll see if there's anything of note. Somewhat, there is a placeholder model for Suzetta Galina. We don't know how she looked like in the alpha, so that's why. Yeah, the placeholders always use this picture of a guy that worked at Blizzard in the early 2000s, as you can also maybe discern from his frosted tips. Pretty funny stuff. Now, I'm not sure if there is a sewer beast in this version. I couldn't actually tell. I've been looking around a little bit, but didn't find anything, so not quite sure. You can see here the ground textures are pretty muddy. I think they have redone those before the 1.12 release. With that being said, here are some Night Elf models. Actually, not too much to be said. You can see the faces look a little bit different to what they would normally look like in the 1.12 version. But the male Night Elf model, actually, this one at least, is pretty standard and looking, yeah, as always, although there is something floating outside of his hands. Colin Moran, we know him. He sends you to Stone Talon, I think, to retrieve something, and he is in the game and working. Even has the quest already, so that is quite an early quest, I would say. Angus Stern, this is apparently a placeholder model, but he is wearing a cleaver, so yeah, interesting. A meal served cold. You know, not a lot of people who do this quest, or maybe these days they do, but this used to be a quest that was kind of overlooked a lot of the time. You have to go to Stranglethorn Vale and collect a cold basilisk gland or something within 90 minutes and come back here and turn the quest in. So yeah, that is a quest to do. It gives you a gold or something, a gold 30 maybe even, which is around level 40, pretty good. So this is the thing also with obviously the haircuts. I don't think there was like a alt head model in the game yet, so whenever there is one dude that doesn't actually have hair, this is what it looks like. With that being said, let's check out the Sanctum and let's see if there is anything different about that. Well, first off, we have a Master Mage right at the entrance. He for sure isn't in this location. Maybe he exists in the game, but if so, he's not existing here. And as you can see, actually, there is just two people up here. There's no sign of the portal that would take you to the Wizard's Sanctum, the place where the actual trainers would be found in the 1.12 version of the game, or also in the regular release. So essential components, there is a Regent vendor here, which is quite handy. Interesting market stalls and tents up here. I would be surprised if those were in the actual game, because I don't think I've seen those before. So that's something to, you know, take note of, I suppose. There's also a shop up here, but I don't think there's gonna be anything too special about this. So Carly Chadis and her two kids that are taking strolls around Stormwind seem to be standing here, or maybe they're moving around. Interesting inventory though. Okay, so they are actually already pathing. That's interesting. And also interesting inventory. She sells a couple of axes, actually, green axes and caster belts. So that is interesting for an arcane trinkets vendor, I guess. Uncommon items were, you know, somewhat magical in in the lore of this version, I suppose. Okay, so you can see here with the alcohol vendor, the alcohol still needs effects, so you can drink them, but this one, for example, just restore your mana. You probably won't get drunk drinking them. And let's see down here, obviously, at the Warlock Trainers real quick, if there's... Oh yeah, there is something of note. There is a huge imp next to Stardust of the Black Claw. This guy gives you a quest to collect flowers and poison an old man in a Stormwind Keep, which is also already in the game. So one of the older quests of the game, he doesn't have his imp companion, and if he does, the imp doesn't look that large in the 1.12 version. Also, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, this is the gnome model in the alpha. So yeah, there you go. They used to look a little bit differently. And let me tell you, female gnomes are even worse. I will show that off, I'm sure, when I get the chance. I think there should be some female gnomes in the urban quarter. So that is the mage quarter done with. So far, so good. There's actually a whole... Oh, hold up. I have never actually noticed that before. Look at how... Yeah, the canals are set up here. I mean, I like this layout. It's just that, you know, how are you supposed to get over here? I mean, that's interesting. Let's just go inside here real quick before we take a closer look at the other thing. So these guys are posted up here ready to, you know, stem the Defiance onslaught coming from the stockades. And in case you are wondering, yeah, there are quests already, and the stockade is in the game. I'm not going to go in there because that would kind of like, you know, this is the subject of probably a different video, maybe not the stockades all by itself, but a couple of the dungeons in this version we will be exploring. We've already explored, obviously, the Scarlet Monastery, so if you haven't seen that yet, it is actually quite a popular video, surprisingly, so yeah, go ahead and give that a watch if you haven't yet, and let's just go now and see what is over there and whether or not we can actually make it up here. Okay, I think we can. Yes, we can. Okay, great. So we have an empty building, interesting. And we have Mazen McIntyre, Academy of Arcane Arts and Sciences. I think this guy exists. I want to say he exists. I don't think he looks like Khadgar, because I think this is what Khadgar looks like in Burning Crusade. But I think this NPC exists, and this guy is a librarian. There are a couple of these NPCs. Also in Undercity, there is one that has just scrolls and is a librarian, so who knows what the deal was with that. Oh, maybe it's Acolyte Delis that is actually in the game for sure. I'm not sure about this dude. Anyways, as you can see here, this guy uses the same model as the head chef, I think, in the Blue Recluse that we saw earlier. So yeah, that is just a placeholder model, I suppose. Or maybe just for the other guy. Let me just... increase my swim speed so we get out of here quicker, hopefully, and go over to the park. So yeah, I checked out Darkshire. I think the Stelman questline is in the game already, actually, so that's why you will find Caretaker Folsom here. And with that being said, let's go and make our way into the park, but actually it is called Night Elf District. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. It's just minimal area that is actually called Night Elf District as you path in here from the from the Mage District. So I don't know if that is an oversight or what, but yeah, they didn't exactly name the zone what they wanted to name the zone. And you can see here there are some graphical glitches and errors. Obviously, from this angle, the water. Okay, no, it doesn't matter the angle that I'm taking. It just kind of blinks like that. This looks interesting, the gray stuff. Alright, so there is obviously a druid trainer, yada yada yada. Oh, what's that? Right. Strider trainer. So this is a remnant of a system where you would have to find the corresponding pet trainers all over Azeroth to sort of, you know, improve your pet. And this guy had a very funky looking Strider actually, so pretty nice. I like the look of that. There's some more druid trainers, and obviously this is an empty inn, it's called. Well, there's something else we found out. This is called the Warlock Tavern, although we just visited the Warlock Tavern, and that was obviously in the Mage District, so quite interesting that they would have the Warlock Tavern in the Night Elf District. Maybe that's why, you know, I mean, it does use the same model, actually, you know, the whole building layout, like this is just where it goes down, or the other tavern over there. And obviously, yeah, so the Night Elves are not the biggest fans of magic, and especially no fans of the Burning Legion or the forces of the Nether. So yeah, you can imagine why they didn't put the Warlock Tavern in here. It almost seems like they also used the model of the Blue Recluse here once. that doesn't mean that obviously it was going to be a mage tavern. But yeah, so there might have been some layout shuffling happening in this version of the game where they, rethought some of the building placements and the general layout. So with that being said, obviously this is where the harbor is going to be in future versions, and starting from Wrath of the Lich King, but as of right now there is no sign of that. And another tailor, but an empty shop at that. As we go into the Cathedral Square, which let's just see, there is a plate vendor here, but actually never mind, it is a rope vendor that sells some ropes that even have stats where sadly we can't inspect them, and a mail armor merchant. So no plate, although there is spirit on this level 45 helmet, 8 spirit, 57 armor. So just another reminder that there was a lot changed about the stats in future iterations. You wouldn't normally see that much spirit on a mail item, I think, and not only spirit for that matter. So this is Brother Christoph. He sends you, to go to Redridge and collect the ore because he needs it to write a new book. He needs to make ink from it, I think. But this is obviously a very, very unusual model, I would say. So I've never seen that before, but it's quite interesting. Moving on from that though, there is, as you can see, no orphanage, or maybe it's just turned around. Nope, there is no entrance to what will become the orphanage. This whole building just doesn't have a door. They didn't even try with that one apparently, so fair enough. There's the Argent Dawn, which is empty. And over here we have where Barris Alexton would normally be, obviously the guy we met in the trade district that sent you to Westfall. But also there is no, I think the Stormwind Census office is up here. There is, I think, an NPC up here also that you go to for the Western Plaguelands quest chain of finding out who Emma Fellstone is. Emma Fellstone obviously is old Emma that walks through Stormwind muttering to herself, which I hope I didn't spoil you there, but yeah, it's a 20-year-old questline, so I hope you can forgive me. Cutthroat Alley, that was already in the game. That's very interesting, but there is apparently nothing to it. So they had an idea of making this something, but it didn't happen. I don't think there is anything in the 1.12 version either. I think with Cataclysm we got something there. Not quite 100% sure anyways. So entering the Dwarven District, we see here, just with my player model, there was a little bit of a different stance to how characters were, posturing, kind of, that changed later on. This is obviously the mining trainer, and actually this is the mining trainer. He looks like a miner, and she is just selling the supplies for it, so fair enough. This is Grim Elmore, the Dwarven Smith, that sends you, I think, to Lochmodon, but he doesn't have a model and no quest for us. Maybe I did the quest on his character though, it might also be the case. Okay, so now we can finally get to... No, there are... Wait, isn't there a female gnome here? So Shoni the Shyland, she's not here yet. She gives you a quest for Dead Mines. It's the female gnome with the glasses, but apparently she's not here. And there is a raptor trainer, so another one of those, other functionalities that were scrapped. Back to the... Yeah, this seems to be a engineering trainer, and here's the engineering supplier, his identical twin. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, these models just look wretched, honestly. And this is the Dwarven Embassy, which, doesn't really have anything, but some nice desks, so I'll give it that. So let's move on from that. And there is going to be coming up the blacksmithing trainers, which look pretty much the same as always. Furin Longbeard is here without a model, and you can see the entrance to the Deep Run tram is still blocked off, so there is no Deep Run tram here yet, except for if you want to see what version of the Deep Run tram is in this game, then check out my Exploring Old Ironforge video, because there you will get to see a little bit of that, even though it's very, very unfinished. As is this guy's model, still using a placeholder. There is both the quest for the Dead Mines, outside area though, the Undead. And let's just see what we'll find in the castle, which is actually an area I have already checked out. So first off, we're gonna go here. There is, oh yeah, something weird about this one. She is attackable, and I don't know why exactly, but let's just dispose of her real quick. And here we have the guy that will get poisoned by the quest that you get in the Warlock Tavern, the one that I mentioned with the guy next to the inn. And this guy, oh yeah, he wants to burn all the tiara, right? That's going to Alterac Mountains and killing an ogre, which interestingly enough, I have already done a video about Alterac Mountains also, so if you want to check that out, then you know, you will find it in the playlist. So with that being said, this guy, maybe you recognize him from somewhere. This is actually the model, or at least the armor that is being used by Colonel Kurtzen in Stranglethorn Vale, the level 40 elite that you have to kill in the cave surrounded by special forces and jungle fighters. So this is, this is what used to be the old Bolvar model. Here we have Anduin and Lord Devil Prester II, who in the lore is actually, I would say, Lady Katrana Prester's father. Lady Katrana Prester obviously is actually Onyxia, exerting her undue influence on the Stormwind nobility, and Lord Devil Prester presumably would thus have been Deathwing, I want to say. But yeah, that's maybe that's what that is, maybe not. If I am wrong, please do correct me in the comments below. I'm a little bit rusty on my lore. So here we have another interesting model, kind of the same model, different face as the one on Althea Abenlock in Duskwood, or Darkshire to be precise. And let's just hope that I didn't miss anything. Old Bishop Delavay looks like Jorgen, so they just slap the staff on him and call it a day. I guess some intern wanted to go home sooner than later, and we almost forgot about the library, obviously, so let's go and check that out real quick. So Tyrion, the guy that has you ambush Lord Leskovar, is not here, the little gnome and his sentry bot. Yeah, Lord Leskovar is here. This guy is here. I think he exists in 1.12 version, I'm pretty sure. And Milton Sheaf has the same Fat Man model, so they give him a more flattering model in the actual release. Lucky him. Let's just see over here. Yeah, this is so this is supposedly King Lane of the House of Rin. So I guess the House of Rin is actually descended from dwarves. And this is Lady Mara Fordragon, obviously, if you couldn't tell. So that explains Bolvar's masculine physique, I would say. The only problem, okay, well, this guy should have probably been Khadgar, but didn't get a plaque yet. And I never noticed these statues in the 1.12 version, and I would say that they're not there. I would be very surprised if those are in this room, although, you know, you rarely ever come here because there's absolutely no reason to go in this room, so maybe some of you haven't even seen this room ever before. With that being said, we are almost concluding our tour of what is actually a rather longer video than I expected. So we are going to take a look at the Old Town now. And in the Old Town, we can see Jen Langston. We know her. We know Nikova. She wants the bandanas from the guys in the stockades because they killed her nephew or something. So she's pretty upset. And she's already here. The quest is already functioning. This guy is selling some two-handers. I think he's in the game just as usual. And obviously Adis Brome and his buddy. These are two mercenaries that are kind of like discussing the events of the second war in Lordaeron against the orcs, I'm pretty sure. So they are already in the game. They are just a little bit of a flavor piece. There's nothing to them. They always patrol Stormwind and talk about the good old times, and then you go for a drink. But apparently in this version, yeah, they seem to have had a falling out because Adis is out on his own. Another Jorgen model. He is haunting us, isn't he? But other than that, there doesn't seem to be anything that really stands out about this particular inn. Seems to be just the same, seems to be everything in order here. So with that being said, let's move on. Just a quick look at the shop. Let's see what they're selling. Just pretty much gray items, no stats on any of these, so not too interesting for our purposes. And Lenny Fingers McCoy, obviously he is one of the guys that gets called over to beat you up, I think, if you confront Dashel Stonefist during the Missing Diplomat quest chain. But here he is actually a lockpicking trainer, which is quite interesting, I think, and that explains his nickname, I guess. Although, Yeah, I mean, sure. I guess you also need finger dexterity for lockpicking. It's just, gives me kind of a pickpocketing vibe, that name. But anyways, maybe that's just because I played too much Gothic, and the guy that, wants you to pickpocket something is also called Fingers. Old Beasley, he's in the game. He's just another homeless guy in Stormwind. Obviously, there is a major housing crisis underway, as it seems. And here we have the leatherworking trainers, the bag vendors. So 12 slot container for 10 gold. All right, fair enough. I'm not sure if that is actually maybe a normal price. Some gear with stats on it even. And here we have a very early version of what would later become, I think, the Raiders set, an uncommon level 12 to 14 mail armor set that looks a little bit different, but I would say this is closely resembling that still. So that's quite interesting. Almost looks like scale armor. But yeah, she is a mail armor merchant, so that does make a lot of sense. Let's just see here real quick. Osric Strang, this guy, you go and bring the package from Westfall to him when you're being introduced to flight points in Sentinel Hill for the first time. And here obviously you can see Jasper Fell. He is a shady dealer normally found within the confines of SI7, which is over there. And as is Sloan McCoy, she is also normally within SI7, because obviously here is where the Honor Hall of Heroes is, and you can, buy your ranking gear and whatever in 1.12. So this is one of the warrior trainers. You can see here, this looks pretty much the same. Only, weapons were actually learned at your class trainer, at least for warriors, and they cost skill points the same as, I want to say, talents cost. Which is, can I confirm that? I can't confirm that right now. Those skill points are, I think, the same as talent points. And this is Osborne the Nightman, but he has a different outfit, I'm pretty sure. He looks a bit more like a pirate. I think he has a darker shirt in 1.12, but don't quote me on that. And you can see here, the garrison, the place where the warrior trainers are, is not very finished. There's just an iron grate, and these two guys are standing over it. The Wu Shen, actually, he is one of the older warrior trainers, which is quite interesting, and explains why he has such a horrible looking armor set. And Ilsa Corbin, I think she also exists as normal, but she is maybe wearing something differently in the 1.12 version. And here we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, the he is the guild master of the Stormwind Assassins. So obviously there seems to be a Stormwind Assassins guild, which was not yet called SI7 in reference to MI6, probably the British Intelligence Service, or MI5. But yeah, this is, he does say welcome to SS7 headquarters war. So there seems to be a little bit of a discrepancy between the nomenclature of this specific instance of the Stormwind Assassins Guild / the Secret Service. And Silver Shield is a shield vendor, which we actually maybe already checked out. Nothing too interesting about that. There is a cobbler here, needs a vendor list, so she's just selling boots. I kind of like that. That's a nice touch. Just a cobbler store. And with that being said, we're gonna go to the final stretch of the video, which is obviously, as you can see, nothing. Or is it? Well, I mean, actually, here would be the entrance to what is probably considered to be, or was supposed to be, player housing. There is this big iron gate with the metal bars on it that it looks somewhat instanced, and that would obviously have been probably entrance to the famed player housing that we never got. And in this version, there is nothing there yet. You can't even walk along the edge of the canals. So yeah, this was a look at Stormwind. I don't think I missed out on anything too big, I hope. If I did, then let me know, and I hope you enjoyed it. I had a blast making it, and as I always promise, but this time I will do my best to follow through on it. There will be more videos in a shorter time span. If you made it this far, then please consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribing if you haven't yet. I hope you'll have a great day, and I hope I'll see you again very, very soon. Goodbye, and thank you.